Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the We Believe Do You Paranormal Podcast. I'm Eric,
And I'm Michelle.
and today we have another guest for you guys. We actually have Theresa on with us today. We don't know her personally, but I met her on a Facebook group and saw her story, and I thought it was very interesting, and I wanted you guys to hear it. So, Theresa, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit for us?
Hello, my name is Theresa. I live in New Jersey. Anybody from New Jersey probably knows anything about Atlantic City. I live near this area. I moved here about 10 years ago. I'm originally from Bucks County, Pennsylvania, which is where I first started having some experiences. So I guess I'll just start from there for my intro, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, we just had a buddy of ours on, well, of my sister's, sorry. And he's also from New Jersey. I'm not sure what part, but so you're our
Back
second.
New Jersey
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, talk to us a little bit about your first paranormal experience or what got you started, like, believing in the paranormal.
Sure. Well, I guess you could say I was like 12 or 13, but we played with a Ouija board. And that was like my first, that was my first experience. And I haven't touched it since, I swear. And, it freaked me out enough to know that there's something out there. Anyway, so, growing up, so like fast forward like 5 years later, we grew up in, an old house in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. It was from the 18th century. And they had, the house had an underground railroad in it for fleeing slaves. So the house had like secret passageways and literally had a tunnel in the basement. So whenever I was home alone, I would always hear the footsteps going up and down the stairs. Sometimes the doors would fling open. You hear voices that weren't there, but overall, I just kind of like shrugged it off. But once the door flung open and I was home by myself, that's when I was like, it's a game over. So I had to grow up with it, deal with it, whatever. So fast forward, another couple of years, another experience was when I was living in Philly. I was on 48th and Walnut, which is, Philly in general is very historical. There's a lot of buildings that are very, very old. And I grew up right next to the West Philadelphia, or I didn't grow up, but the apartment building I was living in was right next to the high school, which is a couple hundred years old as well. And one morning I was running late for work and I saw the remote fly across the room. I, was running late and I was like, I gotta go. I can't deal with this right now. But nothing like evil or like enough to like harm me. I just kept moving. I had to deal with it, but I knew something was there. So now I've been living with my boyfriend for the last 3 years and he has this huge property. He's got a house and he's got houses or buildings in the back as well. So earlier this year, I want to say like about a year ago, my dog's hip started going. He's 12-year-old Choco Lab, and so I had to make the hardest decision I had to make earlier this year. Mm-hmm. So during that process, or during that time, or those days, I had was COVID. COVID started happening, so everything started being quarantined, and everybody was home all day. So what happened was I had an audience because we did it outside on the deck. So the neighbors, right, like literally within like 20 feet of me, saw me lose it because we did it right on the deck. I know. So I was like talking to them and so I had an audience of like 4 kids, right? I didn't say anything to them, but I was like, what? There's nothing I could do. So I would hear them comment things and, whatever. So I just, ignored it. However, that night that happened, that we, let him go, I had a vision of, it sounds so stupid because it was just like so clear, but I closed my eyes and I saw my friend that passed away. She overdosed a couple of years ago and she used to walk my dog for me when I would work my long hours. And I had a vision of her taking him into heaven. They were just like walking together and it was so beautiful. Anyway, I know I'm like so stupid about it.
No, that's an amazing. No, it's awesome.
So I had that vision. So that plus me being interested in the paranormal already, I used to watch Ghost Adventures all the time, and they would do chants and calls and like spells and stuff. And the things that they would say, my boyfriend would tell me, he's like, "You're gonna invite something that they're gonna say something. It's gonna invite something that you don't want." I'm like, "No, I've been watching them for years. Nothing like that. Nothing like that's ever happened." He's like, "You watch," and I'm like, I start paying more attention. Like they are calling stuff that I'm not. So then I started lowering the volume on the shows just so they wouldn't call anything, because his property is old too, so and I used to hear footsteps, but I wouldn't think anything of it. And because there's like old wagon trails around here and stuff, and but I'm like, I don't want to invite anything further. But I think with the vision of my dog and the property already being old, with the Ghost Adventures talking like that, definitely invited something into my reality, because the voices I started hearing, I was convinced they were next door, because one's a little boy that I hear all the time, constantly. And the other one, it sounded like a grown man. And so I used to think it was the dad and the son that would talk about and the things that I hear are that they're like, oh, she's smoking a cigarette. Oh, she's in the shower. She's cooking something. She's lifting something up. Even when I'm in the car, they're like, oh, she's putting her turn signal on. Oh, now she's going to hit the brake. And it's like, why? And I would hear them say it. So I was like, telling my boy, I'm like, I'm convinced they got microphones in here too. I'm like, now they got cameras. They're watching everything I'm doing. But now, I can hear them talking, because they would say, we can see you. And I'm like, well, what can I do about it? And then one night I lost it. I heard him talk until like 2:00 in the morning, and I was like, "That's it. I'm gonna hurt somebody." Like, leave me alone. I want my privacy, because I was still thinking it was the neighbors. And I grabbed the knife. And I went outside. I'm like, shut up, leave me alone. Like, go back to bed, mind your business. And my boyfriend comes out. He's like, who are you yelling at? There's nobody outside. Pitch dark, no lights on, and I'm just standing there like an idiot. Because he's like, who are you yelling at? He calls the neighbors. He calls the father, and he's like, is there any kids outside? He's like, who's outside right now? Like, she's thinking that people are, and the dad's like, everybody's in bed. And I believe him, because there's no lights on. And there's literally nobody outside. And I'm like, just standing there, like, reality. Like, that's when it hit me. This ain't neighbors. These aren't real people watching me or spying on me, nothing. I'm like, this is something else. And this isn't something that is welcomed. It's not like something that, because I grew up Catholic. I have God and Jesus. I pray and all that. So I'm like, this ain't the right energy, because of the things they say. And I don't know about anybody else, but growing up Catholic, like, angels don't hang around like that. They don't make their presence known. They just they just do their jobs. They don't come out of their way to talk to you. That's what I believe. These things that are hanging around, the energy that's hanging around the earth or around us, are negative, and they haven't faced God yet, and that's why they're not good, because they need to face their judgment, and they rather just fuck around down here. I don't know if we're allowed to curse or anything, but
yeah, you're fine.
So they rather just play games around here and not be godly or good or whatever, or positive. So so the things I hear now, and the pictures that I have are, it looks like a little boy. It looks like a 10 or 12-year-old boy, and he has like this bowl haircut. You can see the part in his hair and everything. And the other voice that I hear is, we call him the mustache man, because he's got this thick mustache and a little bit of a beard, and he's got this big old bump nose, and it's a grown man. So that's why I was kind of convinced that it was the neighbors, because they got a daughter and a son, a wife and a husband. And I hear the grown woman, or I hear a woman go, stop, because she's telling them to be quiet and stop talking. And I got pictures of her with this like kind of old style, like a fluffy sleeve. So you can see that's kind of like I don't want to say colonial, or I don't want to say a specific time period, but it's definitely 21st, 20th century style. You know what I mean? Like maybe like 100 or 200 years ago, women would wear these puffy sleeves, but you can see the neckline with the curls on it and everything. So I definitely hear something that I was, reasonably convinced that it would be the neighbors. So anyway, when me and my boyfriend were like, okay, so you're definitely hearing something, you need to go see a doctor. Let's see what they say. It's like, this is the best part, because none of them believe me. I saw 3 doctors. And they're just voices in your head. So whatever you do, don't act on it. Because like that one night, I was about to hurt somebody because they wouldn't stop talking, And they're like, whatever you do, do not act on it. And I took the advice. I'm like, I'm just, I can't do it, because now I know it's not the neighbors. So all 3 doctors, I told them about how I thought it was more spiritual. They all dismissed it. Nope, they're just voices in your head. They're voices in your head. Nothing's real. Nothing's like. And I would show them pictures, and I'm like, "Don't you see anything?" They're like, "No, we don't see nothing." They just like totally they didn't even entertain the idea that it could have been something else. They just automatically assumed that it's just your crazy voices in your head. Meanwhile, I'm 35 years old. I've never had anything like this happen to me before, where I've heard voices that are clearly like human voices that aren't there. You know, like even growing up in like other situations, I've never had voices that I can't see where they're coming from, you know? And so usually like that happens with people that are like schizophrenia, but even that they're like, oh, schizophrenia happens, you know, earlier. I'm not sure, like, you know, between like, if it doesn't happen onset in your early ages, usually it happens between 18 to 24, I think they said. But either way, I'm too old to be diagnosed with schizophrenia. And that's why I'm like, yeah, maybe it's that. So then they prescribed me to olanzapine, or like 7.5 olanzapine. I'm like, definitely, I'll try anything. I took that for about a month and a half, and it should have started kicking in within a month, just like any other, I guess, like mental prescription. Nothing changed. So then they upped my dose they doubled my dose, and nothing changed. Another like month later, I was still hearing them clear as day. And, you know, now I'm like, all right, now I'm dealing with spirits. You know, now we're dealing with something that can't be fixed with medication. So I told my boyfriend, go get me some sage, because you can't buy it. It's got to be given to you, or it's got to be grown for you, or some kind of thing like that. So he gets me, I have it right here. He gets me this huge, big ass stick of sage. It's huge, right? And so I burn it like once a week for, oh God, my dog died in April. I started burning sage in September, because the doctors were like, over the summer, nothing happened. I was like, let me try sage. So sage cleansed the house. So I don't think they're literally in the house, but the things that I hear are like, oh, we can still see you through the window, or we're on the deck. So they watch from the outside. And so, but I haven't done my car, because I just like keep forgetting it. I don't remember till I get in the car. I'm like, crap, I gotta sage the car. But like, I really don't want people being like, why is she setting her car on fire? Because there's so much smoke that comes from this big stick of sage, and it doesn't smell all that pleasant either. I don't want to say it smells bad, but it's not a pleasant smell that you want to be like, you know, you know, and and whenever I like the sage, the voices are like, you're gonna set your house on fire, you know, and they like say like the most negative things. Whenever I just look at the sage, and the voices are like, oh, what are you gonna do? You're gonna, you know, burn your sage? You think you're gonna get rid of it? Like they go crazy. They get like so vocal whenever I go even think about reaching for the sage. They get crazy because they know, I guess because they know it works, and it keeps them away for a certain amount of time. But then I keep it, you know, keep my day moving, and they're right back to, you know, what they're talking about. So,
and I've actually heard that before, like where you know, if there's like spirits in the house, people will sage or try and like clear the house, or say like, you know, you're not welcome in the house, and then they do just like hang out outside. Like the story in particular that I'm thinking of, a daughter of this woman was seeing a little girl, and they cleared the house, got the spirit out, and then so they just started seeing the little girl like outside like the window. I'm like, I don't know what's worse, like it being inside or like seeing like a small child ghost like outside your window. It's still
I
creepy.
just got the feels on that.
Yeah.
I think either one is not good, because I can like imagine seeing a little girl inside the house, and then I just see like a little girl like stand, like I just can picture
through the curtains and
yeah,
stuff.
and like
Yeah.
I'm like, no, thank you.
They're like at the door. That's where like most of my pictures are from. They're at the freaking door. They're not in. So I'll take like selfies and see like where they're at. They're not in the house. You'll see a face like at the door, you know. And that's even more creepy. Yeah, you're right. It's more creepy to me, because it's like, what are you doing looking at me from that, you know? And you'll see like a little boy, and you'll see a mustache man. It's like, God, like so annoying, you know? Because I know it's not, you know, solid energy or real human beings, but it's like I have no privacy, you know. Like I don't have a private moment. Even in the shower, I'll hear them be like, "Oh, she's washing her hair," you know. And it's like, what the, you know, like why? I wish I didn't hear these voices. You know, I would give anything to hear sounds again. But I think the between watching the ghost shows like on that Facebook post, I think that definitely opened up a chant or some kind of calling for these I don't even know what to call it, because I don't want to call them spirits or ghosts, but some kind of entity that thought it was okay to be called into, and then already being open minded to it, and already having the experiences behind me, and the only person that believes me is my boyfriend, because he's seen the pictures and he believes in that stuff too, and like we pray and like we'll do all these other things to, he believes in the sage. He's the one that got the sage for me to do it, and there's like, what am I going to do, like sage I don't know, how do you sage land, like I don't know what you go around with it. I mean, my neighbors already think I'm crazy, because one time I actually confronted the little boy. I was like, stop talking about me. And I'm like, I know. I'm like, leave my cat alone. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he was so scared. He ran so fast to his dad. I got reamed out by my man that night. He's like, don't talk to the neighbors about your crazy ass. I'm like, and the kid didn't even know you had a cat. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I'm losing it. Like, this poor little kid is scared shitless of me, and I didn't mean to do that, but I thought I was being, the one with privacy invaded. Here they had no clue what the hell is going on over here, I mean, like, that's what I'm dealing with, because now I'm just, convinced that it's just these things that are now I feel like are attached to me, because they follow me. I hear them in my car. I hear, everything I'm doing on the property, because I have a studio in the back. I'll be like working on my stuff in the back, and they're oh, well, she's doing that, and now she's doing this. Oh, you should put yellow in that, and it's like, like, get away from me, And then I'll close the door, and they'll be like, oh, we can see you through the window, and like, oh, I just have no privacy, even though they're not real. You still feel like there's definitely a border crossed. You know what I mean? There's definitely some kind of line crossed by something that isn't leaving you alone.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if there's I mean, I'm sure that there's a way to kind of clear the land. I mean, I don't know who could do that, or like a Google search would kind of help with that, but I wonder if it is the land, or like you said, the fact that they're following you around, like maybe it is like an attachment to you.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, if there's anybody that's listening right now that knows how she can go about doing that too, let us know, guys, so we can pass that information on to her, because sounds like she really needs help.
The other thing is to have a priest or some kind of clergyman come bless the property. And I don't go to church every Sunday, so it's not like I know a priest or a minister personally. And so that's another thing I would have to. So I would just be like walking into a church, like, "Hi, I hear voices. Could you mind blessing my property?"
Yeah.
So I don't really know how they feel about that. If they do, I'm sure they believe in some kind of spirit on some kind of level, and because they do exorcisms and stuff like that. And people do bless their homes and stuff when they move in, and stuff like that. So I mean, there is other like options that I can do. I just haven't pursued them yet, because I'm still, dealing with.
I mean, I guess maybe if you could go up to them and just be like, "Hey, look, I'm in my home, and we've moved. Yeah, this is what's going on. Like, is there any way that we could set up?" I mean, to be honest, I would assume they're going to charge you, but but just so that they can come in. I don't think they would have an issue with it. I mean, if they're getting money for it, I don't think they're going to have an issue coming in and doing a blessing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. I definitely need like some kind of like holy person, because I feel like if you're not of that or of that, I don't know what to call it, of that status, then it's not going to take an effect. Like, even with the sage, like, it did something for our house, but they're still there. You know what I mean? So I feel like I would need somebody with some kind of power or more authority, I guess, to, tell them what to do. Because even when I tell them to leave me alone, they say no. I'm like, get out of my car. Nope. And, if you don't like me smoking, then beat it, and they're like, no. And they tell me, I'll be like, go face God. And I'm like, get out of, go face God, face your judgment. They'll be like, I did. And I'm like, what? Like, they answer me. So that's how I know, like, another thing, like, there's not the voices in my head, because I don't think like that. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't, and I hear them, like, as clear as I hear you guys. Like, I hear them like right there within a couple feet, and I'll send the pictures to you guys too, and you can see what I'm talking about.
Do they, I mean, do they feel bad, or is it just kind of like, or I shouldn't say bad, do they feel negative, or is it just kind of like they're invading your privacy so you feel like it's that? Like,
Oh
have
yeah.
they ever tried to like scare you or be malicious in any way or said, negative things?
They say negative things, like they'll call me a slut or they'll call me a whore. They'll
Mm,
call me not that often, but I've heard them say that. They'll call me stupid a lot. The They don't try to scare me, but I let my cat outside, and they'll be like, and they'll tell me to come outside. They're like, "Come outside.
mm,
Are you coming outside? Come outside. Come outside." And even when I do go outside, you can feel them. You can feel them. You can feel something watching you.
uh,
You
yeah.
know. And when I first started hearing them, I would take pictures trying to catch the kids. And one of
Oh.
the first pictures I have is like all these. It's like five. I would say 5 to 8 figures in the back. And it was like
Mm,
one of the first pictures I posted, and people were like, I see this and I see that and I see that. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even realize it. I'm thinking I'm trying to catch some malicious kids,
mhm,
hiding in my trees or whatever. And it's like a group of spirits back there. And but yeah, but they'll always tell me to come outside, and they don't, and I hear them more clearly outside, because then they'll be like, oh, it's Teresa. I'll hear my
um,
name every time I
yeah.
go outside. So it's not even like, I think if they were like moving stuff around, or
Mhm,
if they were more of like a creepy shadow person, like lurching around, I think that would scare the living
yeah.
out of me. That I can't do. I won't deal with anything I like with like the horns, like that'll scare me,
Mhm.
But the
I think
fact
that
that
would scare anybody.
yeah,
Yeah. Real.
right. But the fact that I'm getting these pictures with a little boy, and like they're human, well, human boy and human man, I think is more comforting, even though it's still not, solid man. I think, but even though I still know they're not evil, but I think just the thought of them being a human form is more comforting than what they really are. Because sometimes on those ghost shows, they think that the little kid is still like an evil
A
spirit.
human.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
because they try to make themselves into something
Be
that a human
innocent.
will
Yeah.
what's it called, communicate easier
recognize.
with. Yeah, recognize. So I think that's what they're doing, but at the same time, they're not like, because on those shows, when it's like a little boy or a little girl, they say a lot more evil things.
Yeah.
Or they'll throw rocks, and like they don't do that. They don't throw
Mhm.
anything at me. Yeah, I
That's
don't know. Yeah.
Do you
Um,
know what the sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, I wonder if there's any kind of like history on the property, just
That's
because
exactly what I was gonna ask,
yeah,
yeah.
just because it's so like you said, it's a big property. So I'm wondering if there was anything that happened like in the past or anything like that to that these spirits are there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, without a
Um,
doubt.
yeah,
Do you
because go ahead.
do you know what the history of the land is? Or like does your boyfriend know? Or is there a way of
No,
finding
it's just he said there's like a wagon trail that used to run through here, but there's no like when he first bought that, there was no like recorded documented deaths.
out? Oh,
We
okay.
don't know, and I'm sure somebody probably used to live on
That
this
they know
land.
of.
Right, exactly, that they know of. And there's like, there's old time cemeteries up the street. Like everything's historic in this. I mean, I don't know if
Yeah.
you ever hear of like Smith, like Atlantic City is like but just like the mainland of the city alone, there's historical stuff, just like any town, in
Mhm.
America. If you're coming from a big city, you're gonna have surrounding old time historic communities as well.
Yeah.
So it just comes with the because even when I used to live up the road, I saw a ghost walking down the street, and it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, how much further I gotta walk? And I saw a sign that was lit up by a flashlight, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. That person lit that up for me as I'm like talking to myself. And then as I walked past, there's no one there, and I lost it, and I ran so fast. So even like back then, like 5 years ago, I knew like there's there's something going on in this area. But that's any other.
Yeah.
It's gonna be in New York. That's gonna be in where you guys from, Texas. I can only
Yeah.
imagine
Yeah.
like what kind of things you guys hear down there. And all those residual things. Like it's gonna be. I can only imagine like what England's like. Like,
Hmm.
Oh
just
my
like
gosh,
walking
yeah.
down the street, you're gonna see something. So I'm just
Mhm.
glad that it could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it could be like a lot more demonic, and it could be much more evil than it's intending. But
Mhm.
I'm just glad it's only at this level, because right now I'm just tolerating it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like dealing with it. I'm just trying to ignore it as much as I can and keep it moving. But yeah, I do want it to end. So my next step is to get some kind of holy man or some kind of person with the authority to tell them to leave. You
Yeah.
know, and that's like the last resort, because I don't want to. I don't want my neighbors to see some kind of holy blessing this land, because who does that besides people that think there's something, you know? But I think that's like what the next step is going to have to
Well,
be.
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, like I like Catholic. Well, I mean, at least down in the area where we live,
Like that's
it's
what you
very
do.
like, yeah. That's it's, if you get a new
Yeah.
house, you bless the land, you bless the house. So like at least so like again in our area, if we see somebody doing that, it's not really like it's not out of the
So
ordinary.
you've seen people in your community just go around blessing their land.
Yeah, I
Do
mean, because
you?
I
we're like,
mean,
Really?
yeah, we're Catholic too, or we grew up Catholic.
Yeah.
So I mean, and
like a
we're
little
it's
bottle of holy water, and they just start
yeah,
throwing water
throwing
in
it
it.
around.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's a
it's not
common thing for you
uncommon.
guys.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
our like in the area we live in, it's very heavily Hispanic. It's a Hispanic area.
Yeah.
So you know, again, Catholic and everything. It's just it's not uncommon to see people blessing their house or like literally like if you get a new house and you're Catholic,
That's what you do.
Yeah.
that you're gonna get a priest to come in and bless your house, and that's why I'm. It sounds kind of weird to me that or like like that's why I'm saying you shouldn't feel like scared or nervous or like I can't think of the word, but like going to a priest and asking him, hey, can you bless my house? Because I guess just to me it sounds foreign to have that kind of feeling, because if you go to a church here and you're like, hey, we need our house blessed, they don't really ask questions. They're like, yeah, sure, we'll go down there and
Really?
we'll bless your house.
Wow.
So
Yeah. That's definitely good advice. I feel a lot better knowing that, because I've never seen anybody bless a
yeah,
house before. I think people just kind of put up with it, I guess, around here, or
yeah.
in my life, I guess people that do deal with this but you can't deal with this nobody can deal with this for the rest of your life. You got to
No,
do
Yeah,
something about it.
no.
man,
So
and
Have
fuck what
running.
people think. Just
Yeah. I
I
mean,
know.
that's true too, though. That's true.
I know,
yeah,
I know. I just keep thinking about like the next like 30 years I'm gonna be here, is I'm gonna deal with these people,
yeah.
but everybody's weird in their own way, so you got neighbors, you're gonna deal with, whatever they got going on. So it
Man,
is
I
what it
have some
is.
Yeah.
crazy ass neighbors that I judge them all the time.
Right.
No,
I know.
I'm joking.
I know. Can you imagine? I already like told his kid to like leave me alone. Like this is like this little boy. I'm like, you leave my cat alone. He's like, I don't even know you had a cat. And he like runs. He's like so scared of me.
Yeah,
I feel so
there's
bad for him.
just there's a well, like what you were telling us at the beginning too. Like it just seems that a lot of the places that you've lived in, like and you say you watch Ghost Adventure, so I'm sure you've heard this before. Well, first of all, with the whole Ghost Adventures things, it the whole chanting and calling thing, it surprises me because a lot of times they're good about like censoring that stuff so that they don't really like
Accidentally bring stuff into people's
yeah,
houses.
Right.
like
Yeah. Definitely.
and like I don't know, I've never had that experience before, and I never really thought that was a thing, because I mean I watch ghost shows all the time,
I
and
know.
nothing's ever happened. So
Yeah.
that's like one thing. So the thing I was going to say was about the other places that you've lived was stone tape theory, and I know we mentioned it. I think even with Keith last time.
Yeah. Mhm.
And
Because
again,
Jersey
since
is
Jersey,
so old
old.
compared
I
to,
mean, the
lots of
rest of the United
history.
States, yeah.
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 As a country anyway. But I was
Right.
thinking like something along those lines, because you, like I said, you did mention the whole Underground Railroad in Pennsylvania, and then the spot that you lived at in I think you said Philly.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, like, just all those old buildings, that wood, that stone, all that stuff, just absorbing and holding all that energy in. And I mean, I don't think it's necessarily evil. It's just sometimes you can't move on because of either the way you died, or you just didn't have you have unfinished business.
Well, and sometimes too, though, like the reason, again, I know I'm not like a ghost expert, but I guess like from the things that I've read, things that I've heard, they're afraid of the afterlife, or they're afraid of, like you said, like they need to like meet with God and have their day kind of thing, and they're afraid of that. So
Yeah.
they're like, you know what, screw it, I don't want to even deal with that, so I'm just gonna stay here and hang out and be an ass by just doing running commentary on Theresa the whole time.
I know,
Yeah.
and like, you know, I didn't even think of something, but when I read the chapter 2 in Quran, that's what it says. As in, like, they're you're evil. That's why you don't want to face your judgment day, because you know what's going to happen. So you'd rather linger around. That's, I mean, that was my interpretation of it. But
Right.
yeah, I think you're right. Like, they definitely probably do have some unfinished business. They're either real legitimate spirits that need to move on and they just don't know how. I believe in that too.
Yeah.
Or they're just some kind of evil demonic spirits that just happen to be here. And I think some are good and some are bad, because the woman that I see is she tells them to stop. She'll be like, shut up, leave her alone, go leave, get away from her, and she don't follow me anywhere. The only time I hear her is when they won't stop. And then when they start calling me names, she'll be like, stop, stop. And it's like a real faint female voice. And I've caught her in a couple pictures, and she'll just stand there, and she got her fluffed out shoulder pads on. And then this back hairdo up. And she's real, like, when you ever see like those old time picture frames, those circle ones, and you see like this old colonial woman. That's what she reminds me of.
When you had when you messed with the Ouija board, I don't, you said, did you have any experiences after that?
Like, oh yeah, I was haunted for about a year.
Do you think that maybe it would still be something residual from that? Like they just kind of like, took a backseat and were just like waiting for the right moment, and then that whole, your dog passing away and you seeing your friend, kind of like, we're like, oh well, this is the time to come back and start messing with her again.
Right? Yeah, I definitely like that. I know, isn't that just the weirdest thing? Because I think that opened up a portal for them to think that it's okay to communicate with me now somehow. And I don't think, because I like the spirit's name on the Ouija board was George, and he came to me in my dreams, and he would show me visions of where he was watching us. Oh, really?
Sorry. Yeah.
That's so weird. Sorry. And he would give me visions in my dreams of where he would watch us on the Ouija board. So where he was sitting or standing, he would like show me and my friends on the Ouija board. And I remember crying the one night and running to my mom's room scared shitless, because I didn't know if it was real or not, and I was just terrified from that point on. And then like a year later, I ended up moving in with my dad at that old house with Underground Railroad, and then I dealt with those spirits. So I kind of like, the Ouija board did take a back seat, but then I would deal with that kind of energy, and I really wasn't dealing with much of George anymore. I was dealing with like the door opening, or I was dealing with footsteps, or and like those experiences. But they didn't happen on a daily basis. They would only happen like when I was home alone, and they would see you lonely or vulnerable at night. When I think I opened up some kind of portal for them, or some kind of way for them to communicate with me. And they saw that.
And you said that like you started hearing the voices like when your dog passed away, right? Mm-hmm. That's when it all started? Because I mean, I know a lot of the times when entities like attach themselves to people, it's when you're at a really low point. And I mean, I unfortunately have also had to put a dog down before, and I know exactly, your pain. And so, I can only imagine, like, they saw that opportunity, you're at a super low point, and maybe it is an attachment. Maybe it is you, and not necessarily. I feel like we keep saying that in like a lot of the episodes, that there's always like attachments, but I truly believe it's a very real thing. Yeah, I know it's happened to me twice already. So,
have you tried seeing like a medium about it?
I've thought about it, and like the other thing is too, I don't want to make it worse. So like I'm afraid to talk to them as far as like, how did you die? And ask them those. I don't want to make it worse, because I don't want to make them feel welcomed. And I feel like if I do go to some kind of medium or some kind of person that's legitimate into that, I don't want them to think that it's okay to be here. So that's why I haven't reached out to, because I have a cousin who's a medium. And she definitely does like the tarot card. She does reading. She's like a living, like she's very successful at it. So she's good at it. But I don't want them to feel welcomed, because it's, as far as they're not good. They're not good. And they don't give me a good feeling. They always make me feel very invaded, or very what's the word I'm looking for? Just my privacy invaded.
Yeah.
Like there's just
an invasion of privacy for
definitely.
Sure.
Like I feel like I have some kind of like stalkers, and there's like nothing you can do about it except deal with it. But that's why I haven't, because apparently like tarot card readers or mediums, they're not very godly either. I think I could be wrong. There could be good, spiritual mediums. I'm sure there are, but you're not. I don't think you're supposed to communicate like that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because I think it just opens that door of not welcoming. You don't want to invite something that you don't really know what's happening on the other side, and that's what invites the negative energies. But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like I'm probably wrong on everything, but
No, I
that's
mean,
my opinion.
we're all here to learn about like again, we're here to learn about people's thoughts, beliefs, and nobody's beliefs are wrong. Like you have your beliefs and stuff like that. I
Right.
would say just maybe find somebody that you trust as far as a medium's concerned, because
If you're gonna do that, I mean, obviously,
yeah,
like we're not, if that's not something you're comfortable with, definitely not gonna like pressure you into doing that kind of, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I feel like
But
if I'm gonna bring anybody in, I feel like it's gonna be of God. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's gonna be somebody anointed with the power to, you
Mhm.
know what I mean? Because we're very private people. We don't like when we do have people over. They're just here to work and they bounce. Like I don't even bring my friends over. Even my mom is like the only person that really comes over, just because we're private. Wants to learn the
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know how you're gonna take this, but I kind of wonder if you maybe have some sort of like mediumship, like you're just very, 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 very sensitive. Because I mean, you said you have a cousin who's a medium, right?
Right.
So I mean,
It runs in
sometimes
the family.
yeah, sometimes that kind of stuff can run in the family. So I mean, because just I mean, the level that you're hearing like these things, like again, we've had experiences. I've seen things. She's seen things. We've kind of like had experiences where we kind of don't hear things, but we see things, or like in our minds, we can see images or kind of get information, or we've gotten information, but never to the point where, at least not me, I don't know about you, Michelle, but
No,
where
not
we've
really.
actually heard, or like, and if I have heard a voice, it's just like a word or like a couple words, or just kind of like a disembodied voice that I'm like, what was that? But nothing like where full on conversations, or like where like I just constantly hear voices. So that's
Right.
another thing that I'm curious about, because it's just the level that you're hearing these things at is very intense. Like I'd be kind of like, I'd probably be freaking out a little bit too,
Oh,
if
it's
I'm,
like
I'm
it's like
being
borderline
completely honest.
crazy. It's constant. It's all day. I mean,
Hmm.
they talk amongst themselves about me, and then whatever I do, they make a comment about. Or another thing they try to do is, even last night they're like, oh, she's going go to bed. They'll tell me what to do. They think they're telling me what to do, and then when I
Hmm.
go do it, they're like, see, she does what we say, and it's like, you freaking idiots, like. Of course I'm going to bed. Like I got my bed ready. I got my, of course. What do you think I'm going to do? And I can't say anything because Glenn's, my man's like right there, so it's not like I can like talk back because he'll think like, what? He's like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And what about saying prayers, or like calling on God and angels to kind of protect you, or like get rid of these guys? Like I know that I've kind of been able to do that, like calling on Archangel Michael and like, you got to get rid of these guys, or
Oh
have you ever tried any of that?
oh yeah,
And it
definitely.
doesn't work. I mean, I
Oh,
figured it's like obvious, but
they lose it every time I put like these holy prayers on. Because sometimes YouTube has these prayers of, oh, how to get rid of demonic spirits or how to get rid of these voices, and I'll play that and I'm praying too. They get so vocal when I do anything like that. And they don't like that, but I'll blast it. I'll put it on. It'll be like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'll blast it, and they'll be like, "Oh, you think that's gonna get rid of us?" Or even like I said earlier, even with the stage, like every time I go to even think about doing it, they get so loud and they just like hate it. So, um,
I don't
it,
like these guys.
I know, but I do prayers. I do that every day. Yeah, definitely.
I would. It sounds like just for sure get a priest in, and while you're doing the sage, saying the prayers, get a bottle of holy water and just kind of go around, like, yeah, because like saging a house should be like a weekly or like bi-weekly thing, like every 2 weeks to just kind of clear.
Definitely.
And maybe adding holy water would just kind of add like another layer to it,
Yeah.
and hopefully
Definitely. Absolutely.
that might work.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you guys.
No, well, I mean, we just want like we like thank you for accepting the invitation to come on here
Oh,
and
thank you so
talk.
much for
Like,
having me.
yeah,
Because it's not easy for me to talk about
yeah.
her with
This
anybody. And like that paranormal group on Facebook is really like the only place I feel like I could like when I posted that, when they said have you guys ever had experiences with TV shows? I was like, yes. I'm like, I definitely
Yeah.
think something happened. I think it triggers. I think it had something to do with more, whatever else I was going through in that, like you said, like with the being down in a low point in your life, and they feed off of that, plus the shows that I've been watching. I haven't watched them since too. Because I don't know, I wouldn't, I don't want nothing to do with it. So, but thank you so much for having me, because I feel very much more accepted, because I know I'm not crazy,
No.
But I'll definitely send those pics to you guys too. This way you can
Yeah,
if you want to.
Yeah.
That'd
Thank
be
you.
great.
And
Yeah, for sure.
and like we're glad that you feel comfortable enough to talk to us, because that's, again, I sound like a broken record, but that's what we're here for. Like that's why we started to do this, because we wanted to give people a platform to be able to talk about this and be comfortable to talk about this, because a lot of times people do feel the way you do. Like literally our first episode that we did with Letty, she said basically the same thing, that she thought she was crazy. She, like, people
She
around
thought
her
she was
didn't believe her.
schizophrenic also. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my
People around her
God.
didn't believe her. So
That's
I mean,
crazy.
it's what people deal with it. So I mean, it's good for people to have an outlet and be able to find people to talk to about this, to get it off their chest. And I mean, like I said, you don't need, like, what you're experiencing, what's going on with you. So it's not like you need validation or anything, because that you're living through that. You know what I mean? But it's nice to have that kind of like, someone to be like, hey, you know what? Yeah. I believe what you're saying. Like, I know that you are going through something, and I feel like it is comforting for people as well,
Definitely.
so.
It's very comforting. That's what it is. It's very comforting to know that people believe you. Yeah, I don't need validation. I already know what I'm doing. But the fact that, because the doctor, I mean, I get where the doctors are coming from, because they're, trained scientifically, whatever. But like, a priest would be more willing to believe me. You're right. And people like this are willing to, like you guys are willing to believe you. And that makes me feel better. It does. It makes me feel very comforted to know that. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for being on again with us.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime, guys.
And so, real quick, I know that you had mentioned that you had a studio. Are you like a painter? Do you make?
Yeah, I do a couple of. I do photography. I do painting. I have a sewing machine back there. Right now, I'm doing wood. I'm working on wood. My man, he recently just put up French doors, so he had all this extra lumber. So right now, I'm working on some kind of like wood thing.
Do you sell any of it? Like, is there, just so we can kind of give you an opportunity to promote whatever it is that you're making or selling?
Thank you. Definitely. I have a bunch of paintings. They're on my Facebook profile. It's under T Sylvia F Studios. So there's a bunch of paintings under there that, but I do shows and stuff like that. But I haven't done anything this year because of COVID, really.
COVID, yeah. Well, send us that link on Messenger or email us the link to your Facebook page, and we'll go ahead and we'll put that on Instagram and Facebook too.
Thank you guys. That's awesome.
Yeah,
sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, you're supporting us by being on here, so like we're more than happy to support you in that way.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. All right. Well, we'll keep in touch. All right. I'll send you links later on today. Okay.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you.
Well, have a good show, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Those are some stories. Can you imagine like having just these ghosts like doing running commentary of like what you're fucking doing all day long?
Dude, I don't think I could handle it, man. Like mentally, after the experience that I had, like with the stuff that happened here, like if it was that and then compounding the, those voices, just constantly hearing those voices, I don't know, man. I would have gone crazy. I feel like it's too much. It definitely at first sounded like, I don't know, like it was just like regular, just I guess entities or spirits or something that were like not ready to cross over or whatever, or just hadn't crossed over. But then like at the very end, when she started, describing everything, and especially what they start telling her at the end there, definitely sounds like something more,
Yeah.
I don't want to say demonic, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's something wrong with that. And I hope that, we can maybe get like an update from her, do like a quick recording, and if she's able to get a priest to come in and kick those spirits out and get a blessing done for her and her house.
Yeah, definitely.
Just in case it's not the land and it's more her, maybe a blessing might fix those issues.
Drink some holy water. I know that's what I don't know. I don't know if it's actually a thing, but I know people have done that before. I don't know if that would help. Yeah. Actually, I think I know we've talked about, Ghost Adventures today, but apparently one person was like being oppressed or something like that. And they put some holy water in a glass of water without telling him. And he like drank it and then started like, he couldn't like swallow it, or he started like kind of gagging.
Wow.
Yeah, it was interesting. But yeah, so
hopefully that's not, what
the case.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I feel like I should start rewatching Ghost Adventures.
Dude, they have the whole like, well, not the whole series, but they have like half of it or most of it, I think, on Hulu.
I know. Well, like, yeah, because I started watching it, but I just like we were one episode in. Yeah, and I just because I was like laughing at how ridiculous he can be sometimes.
Yeah,
I don't know if I have to just like get past that and keep watching, but
they definitely have. I feel like some good information. I know a lot of people are like when they say like regarding ghost hunting, it's like. I know in that group, some people have asked, if we're trying to get into ghost hunting, what do we do? And they're like, do like the exact opposite of what Ghost Hunters does. And I'm like,
yeah,
I mean, I can see that. Because I do feels like sometimes the reactions that they have are kind of, intense, but, at the same time, I feel like that's the reaction that any normal person who doesn't deal with that stuff, would probably have. So that's kind of what draws people in, but
they've been doing it for so many years, they shouldn't be having that kind of reaction.
But what I'm saying is that I feel like they have that kind of reaction to, because that's what gets ratings, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but the actual investigations that they do and the information that they get, I think there's some legitimacy to what they're doing. I think they just kind of ham it up a little bit for the cameras.
A lot of it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Okay, a lot of it. But yeah, I mean, so I don't know. It's just very interesting, and again, I know we mentioned Stone Tape Theory last episode, and then or the episode with Keith, and then the couple of the places that she lived at also were very old. So I think some of the experiences that she had also had to do something along those lines, and definitely want to talk about that at some point.
But I feel like wouldn't Stone Tape Theory be more of like a what is it called?
Residual?
Yeah, residual, where it's just like the same thing over and over, not necessarily like having a freaking conversation with.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying is the earlier things that she was talking about, like in Pennsylvania.
Oh, gotcha.
Not necessarily what's happening now. Like this stuff right now is something else. But the first things that she did talk about, and it's not necessarily that it's like just repeating the same stuff. It's just that the house does have that energy, so it's kind of like how do I explain it? I don't know. It's just the energy's there, like, so it's able to like manifest and stuff like that. But it's not. I don't feel like I don't think it's necessarily that it. But I could be wrong, because I mean I've only briefly touched upon Stone Tape Theory, so that's why I do want to like kind of dive into it a little bit deeper. Yeah, on another episode for sure. But yeah, I mean I really hope that she can get some help for sure.
Jinx.
I'm also happy that she felt again comfortable enough to come on here and talk to us, and that she felt like she had a place and to come do that, because yeah, man, like every time we talk to somebody, I guess it's because we have each other to talk to about this kind of stuff. Like, I guess I take for granted the fact that not everybody has somebody that they can just open up about this, because it's not something that a lot of people like accept or really, believe, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And I'm really, really grateful for I guess the family that I have, because I remember, I mean, I know you've experienced stuff, so like, yeah, you and I could talk about ghost stuff, but when I was getting into, more metaphysical, spiritual, things like that, like I was super afraid of judgment, but both mom and dad were also very open-minded about it and, accepting of it and everything. And yeah, just super grateful for you guys that you didn't tell me I was weird and crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it also has a lot to do with like just I know dad grew up, we all grew up Catholic, mom, dad, you, and myself. Dad obviously, has been kind of away from the church, I don't know exactly how long. And I know mom had still been or still is kind of, she's there and stuff like that, but mom's always been very understanding and accepting of a lot of what we've come to her. Like she never ever has judged us about anything. Like she listens and stuff like that. So I'm also very grateful for her. And I mean, just our experience with like, what we like, our feelings about, religion and stuff like that. And again, everybody's entitled to that. But I think that's why, at least for me, like when you started talking to me about this kind of stuff, it's like, I mean, I had no judgment because I was kind of in a place too where I was like, well, I mean, I believe in something, but I just don't know exactly what, so like when you started talking to me about this kind of stuff, I was like, well, I mean, I can get behind that. It's something that interests me and I kind of like, so yeah, I mean, again, I'm very grateful for the family that I have, and grateful that we're able to talk about this so openly with each other and giving people again that platform to be able to come on and have that same feeling that we've always had or that we've had for a long time,
Mm-hmm, for sure.
So guys, if you guys have any stories that you guys want to go ahead and send in, talk to us about video, pictures or otherwise, it could be ghosts, paranormal, like, or alien. We're still waiting on that UFO story, which I think we might have one, hopefully.
Oh my God, don't even get my hopes up like that. I'm so excited.
Well, we do have that one video that I got, so we'll probably be talking about that soon too. So stay
Can't
tuned,
wait.
guys. Yeah, stay tuned. But yeah, if you have
get ready for me to just word vomit every alien fact that I know.
Well,
It's
don't
gonna
word
be great.
vomit. Don't worry about, I mean, everything, because we need to come back to stuff like that. But
Okay.
definitely I want to hear your thoughts, because it's not something that I really am in depth into. So yeah, guys, if you have any of those things, go ahead and send us a message on any of our social medias or email us. And that's on Instagram, it's at We Believe You Podcast. On Twitter, it's at WBDY Podcast. On Facebook, it's We Believe You with a question mark, or you can add us with at We Believe You Podcast as well. And our email is webelievedyou@gmail.com. On Facebook, on YouTube, go ahead and give us a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Lets us know how that you guys are listening. And Michelle, you want to say anything about the podcast? Apple Podcast?
Oh, wait, my typical script that I always say about please rate and review us on Apple Podcast. I was just checking them like right now as we're speaking, and I want to read one on the next episode. I only have one.
We have another review?
No, I'd be reading it right now if we did. That's what I'm saying. You could just like we have like 5 or 4 5-star like
reviews
rating. Yeah, but not an actual like written review.
Yeah. So guys, go ahead and like or give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, because that also helps us move up in the, I guess, rankings as far as podcasts are concerned, or it helps us come up more, so more people can find us. Like you can search us and find us that way, but
I don't on Spotify too, if you guys just hit subscribe, that kind of helps out as well. And also you'll get a notification of anytime a new episode is out.
Yeah. So, yeah, guys, go ahead and do that. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate everybody that listens to us, and everybody,
all 5 of you.
Yeah, and everybody that's been accepting interviews. Yeah, we love you guys. We hope you keep coming back and listen to us because we believe.
Do you?